It's not working right. So anyways, how about we talk about the Kuzimo's and Kindmime's decks? What do you guys think so far?
Well, Kuzimo is running that Blood Sapphire kind of just straight up we're gonna destroy you style of deck. It's kind of crazy. I mean, we've got Azure Sorceresses, we've got the Killipedes, all of which are pretty awesome. The ability to make flying, scary Killipedes is always awesome. Wakazashi Ambushers, Monsoons to protect them, and Zared to provide a little bit of extra control on the board, in addition to a 4 of Crackling Rot and Dishonorable Death. Can answer a lot of problems, and Dishonorable Death, in the best case, not only answers a bunch of problems, it actually removes uh, it
Backup
removes
copies.
backups or just other cards in hand. And getting to 6 resources for a deck like that seems pretty good. Well, on the flip side, the hardest thing for it will be surviving long enough against something like not Blood Wild, sorry, Wild Ruby Goremaster. And with things like Jags and Boulder Toss breathing down your throat, you got to be quick with those flying Killipedes.
Yeah, this deck it's the Dragonboard Guild deck, and it's very similar to the Felon deck that we showed yesterday. I think there's maybe like a couple cards different in the side on the reserves or something. Um, but it's going to play out very similarly, and this is a deck with Zarin, so that helps out quite a lot with the Goremaster matchup. That's actually one of the reasons that they played Zarin there, along with the extra charge producing cards like Crackling Rot and maybe 1 or 2 Crackling Vortexes.
So both players have a chance to already look at each other's deck lists from the website. So we posted the top 8 deck lists. So for Kuzimo, what do you target with Dishonorable Death against Kindmime here?
Basically, anything that'll save you a turn or two to get your Killipedes out. Like you've got to be liberal with that. You can't save it for a huge target. Ideally, in the long run, he manages to drop it on a Goremaster and get rid of all potential Goremasters, Jags, Stink Trolls. Because he should be able to deal with the Wrathwood Master Moss with. He should be able to race a Wrathwood Master Moss, but the other stuff is the scarier part, like just the ability to get crush onto troops and the double damage, in addition to the Boulder Toss side.
All right, so I think we just got
Kindmime
got them
stream will
back
be
on.
coming back up here in a second.
All right, so we'll be going to them now. There we go. It looks like they're on turn 4, I believe.
Looks like it.
Kuzmo still at 20 health and Kindmime at 18. I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess that he got hit for 2 by the splashies.
Yeah, a lot of storm cloud coming down. Maybe, yeah, it was a crackling vortex was played at some point. You can tell he's got 4 resources open and only 3 threshold there. So it was likely storm cloud into crackling vortex into sacrifice for splashes. Once again, I would like to point out that we've got double splashies here. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, and we definitely had one case where that wasn't the thing yesterday, but Kindmime saying, "Woo, sorry about that" to us. So there we go. It looks like he actually delayed quite a bit there if you look into the timers as well. He doesn't care about the card blocker, he says in chat, so you can take that down.
Okay.
I have to imagine that's what he means about DC, but if I'm wrong, say something, I guess, but I'm pretty sure he means he doesn't care.
Card blocker's out, so you can take a look at his hand.
So here we are looking at Kindmime facing them, because they both have Well, not they both have, I suppose. Kindmime has a bunch of cards in hand, and there we go. There's that dishonorable death onto the Gore Master, which removes a stink troll from in his hand. That is, of course, exactly what we expected to be the best target for that dishonorable death, but it also had to happen there because, as you can see, wow, especially now, Gore Master is a potential one-turn kill here. There's not a whole lot that Kuzimo will be able to do to avoid that. That being said, he's got a lot of card draw available to him with those splashies. Those are the draw card Stormlings, correct?
Stormlings, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Kuzma's
Kuzmo will have options with that. Um, he'll maybe draw into something if he needs to. But at this point in time, I think he's happy with just swinging with them.
Yeah, he's playing a little bit of a fish style game here where he's just getting in for some damage while he can, and he'll play as much control as he has to in order to deal with Kindmime's threats. See another attack for 2 here from Kuzimo.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to push this damage through. If you can win with those in the sky, you can. He's capable of looking at the deck list and seeing that the only real answers to splashies that are in this Wild Ruby deck are, you know, actual removal actions like Crackling Bolt and Boulder Toss. Otherwise, they're just going to keep pounding in. And there's the Azurfate Sorceress with the Gravedigging Gem and Flight Gem. That's going to have to see, yeah, just immediately going to have to be taken off the board. Probably not going to matter, though. That Tunneled Troop can only be one thing looking at the deck list, so that'll be coming back later.
I mean, we have a pretty good
No,
guess on
no,
what
it could be
is.
Reese. It could be Reese.
It
Could
could
be
be Reese
Reese.
or it could be Monsoon.
Yeah.
If he's tunneling it that late in the game, it's probably Reese, but we don't know for sure.
Well, he did tunnel it before playing Azurfate Sorceress, so we don't know yet. We'll have to see.
Could be. That's right. That's exactly right.
Kuzimo could be playing for the long game here, but we'll see.
Just see another splashy attack for 2.
Yeah. These Stormlings are really making a splash here at the Diamond Cup.
Oh, and the follow-up Killipede off the top.
Yeah, the Killipede. Well, that's a card. It exists. Looking at Kindmime's hand, there's not a lot he can do to answer that. And if that is a Monsoon Underground, he is in a lot of trouble here because should he take a Toxify here and be able to destroy the Killipede on a subsequent turn, not only is he still going to be taking a whackload of damage from the splashies, but the Killipede will come back afterwards, and that's going to be coming back with the Azurfate Sorceress. They all return to the board at the same time, so there won't be any flight and grave digging applied, but it'll still be very scary.
And with an
Wow.
amazing top deck there with Dishonorable Death.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Kindmime was really setting up to maybe one-shot him there even too. He had enough charge power and enough crackling sprouts that he could have maybe had a kill on the backswing, but not there now.
So the Killipede does swing in and apply its toxified?
Toxified. Yep.
Toxified.
Yeah.
So the way the Killipede works, it only needs to hit you once to toxify you, and then if it ever hits you while your champion has those little green bubbles popping up around you, you immediately lose the game. And that is going to be what happens here. Kindmime dropping game 1. Not necessarily to the splashies. It looks a little bit like his deck betrayed him here. Decided not to give him any troops. But the best case scenario, dishonorable death, and then a amazing top deck really pull Kuzimo through the first game.
Yeah, with playing two key dishonorable deaths there, that's definitely the MVP card of this match.
So we're going to see how Kindmime wants to play it in the reserves here.
Well, hopefully they actually take this game to the
The Proving
proving
Grounds.
grounds. Yeah,
Okay.
to avoid any potential deck bugs here.
Okay.
There was an issue that came up yesterday that made us wary of the proving grounds, and then after further testing post tournament, um, well, I can't say that it's like 100% that things will happen. It's certainly possible that deck bugs will happen in the best of three sparring queue right now. With that being the case, we're asking players in the top eight to just play their games in the proving grounds, which is really a mild inconvenience. That's not really gonna end their days.
Do we want to talk about the changes here?
I think in general we let Kindmime's reserve tech go unnoticed. He's not making a ton of changes here, though. I'll let you. That's for sure.
So, anyways, on other note, so if I do have a local recording of all the broadcasts yesterday, like all 10, 11 hours worth. Was it 10 hours? 10 hours. So I'll be slowly, probably slogging through it, cutting it and things, and segmenting it, and maybe upload it somewhere. I need to talk to Zubin and see how he wants to deal with this. Either put it up on my own YouTube account or some other YouTube account. Does Five Shard even have one?
No, but like if we can work this out later, it would be cool if we're not going to upload it to a main account. If you could throw it up on my YouTube channel, that would be pretty cool. Just to have a consolidating place for things. But if we make a Five Shards YouTube channel, that can work too.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes, but I still need to go through and cut everything because we did a lot of live streaming yesterday.
Just a little bit.
We didn't have the bracket posted on the site. Oh, that's probably my fault. I need to update that then.
How could we get a bracket on the site when you didn't give it to us?
I don't know. Oh, Zubrin is currently editing it. Zubrin.
And it looks like Kuzimo is ready now. So we should see this next game starting up here in just a second.
So, with the ability to go first here, I think Wild Blood actually has. I don't know who went first in the last game, but
I mean,
I do. Yeah, the Wild Ruby. I keep saying Blood. I just woke up. My bad.
It's okay.
I think the Wild Ruby has this pretty good jump on the Sapphire Blood. That extra turn to get something onto the board is a pretty big deal for them.
Yeah, being able to get the Gore Master down a turn earlier definitely helps a lot in this matchup. Excuse me. Yeah, in this matchup, it almost feels like even though Gore Master can just be, a regular aggro and attack you with my troops that I've drawn, in this matchup here, it almost feels kind of like a combo deck where you want to have set up the perfect one-shot kill, or maybe 2 turns at the most, where you just go and dump a whole bunch of resources into a single troop at one time and get there. Because you've got dishonorable death, which is basic action speed, and that's really the only way to go and kill some of the troops here.
Here's the opening hand. And, yeah, I guess that's probably keepable with the 2 Immortal Tears in hand. The problem with this is that it's essentially a 5-shard hand. You are playing at the 5shard.com tournament series, so maybe that's the way to do it. Um, but we'll see if that's the case.
Yeah, Kindmine does need to draw a little bit more action here with this hand, but I think seeing Goremaster in the opening hand there, you probably want to keep that.
I think the good news here is that he'll be able to play and pop both of those tiers before before he even has to worry about playing a troop, if you know what I mean. Like, he can do it pretty safely.
Right.
Yes, with that type of plays, he isn't going to be missing out on a
On any
resource.
shard. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And probably, I guess, like a bigger thing here is that he is. It's a little less noticeable in a constructed game, but he is thinning his deck out. It is less likely for him to be drawing shards after every turn that he pops Immortal Tears. And if you're drawing a little bit more gas,
Right.
So do you think Immortal Tears would still see play like this if Shards of Fate was not banned from this tournament?
I think in
yeah, I think
Kindmime's deck would still do it. Yeah, like being able to get the charge versus not have it is pretty big deal for that deck in particular. I think Kindmime's deck probably would
there's a
still.
lot of times where you have a spare resource and you'll be okay throwing things down. So Kuzimo tunnels something down here, might be getting ready to layer troops onto the board with Monsoon, and uh, might actually just be getting ready for a Reese to pop up and spray the board with potential robots. Uh, Kindmime puts down the Gore Master, and looking at his hand, it would be nice to draw a little more gas for him here. But he looks like he's probably going to want to wait a turn or two to fire off on that, because he's going to want the most value out of the Gore Masters and Lionel Flynn's synergy.
Kuzimo's side, we just see a shard this time. It looks like he's content to pass it back here.
Yeah, not a lot in his deck to be played on 3, really.
Can we expect a Crackling
Oh.
Rot in response, possibly?
Well, no. Crackling Rot wouldn't do much for this board. I mean, it would lower Goremaster's attack, but it doesn't remove it, which is the real threat. A little bit of a bad draw for Kindmime there. Had he had that a turn earlier, he might have been able to evolve the board state really quickly. He clearly would have played Jags into Goremaster into Stink Troll, and then on the turn of Stink Troll, he'd have had Lionel Flynn charge power and Stink Troll for Crush all at once, with the Goremaster able to attack that turn.
And back to your question, Tech. I think if he had the Crackling Rot there, he probably would have just main phased it on his turn and killed off the Goremaster with the Champion Power plus Crackling Rot.
Yeah.
In this case, it looks like Kindmime is going to take a little bit slower approach and just dink in for only 4 damage.
Yeah, I mean he really has to here. Like I said, with that one draw being there, the Jags coming out, it's not as good for him on this board. And if he had put down Jags into Stink Troll, uh, at that point, whatever's tunneled is going to be popping up soon, and he's losing a bit of potential damage here. He wants to get through with that Gore Master now, and he has to beat Dishonorable Death. Like, he has to be able to get all of this out of the way before Dishonorable Death pops off the Gore Master, which will leave the Stink Troll and Jags on the board if they're there, but it's still very scary. I imagine in his opponent's end phase here, Kindmime will be popping Immortal Tears. Kuzimo is very likely going to put an Azurfate Sorceress or a Killipede down onto the board here. It's time to start... it's time for the Blood Sapphire to start doing its stuff on 4. Well, a top deck Stormcloud changes that up a little bit. And then a regular Shard. Are we going to see a Crackling Wit? Or they're not in the deck, are they?
No, there's
No, we're just going to see a single pop for a Splashy. That provides a blocker, kind of. It'll block the Stink Troll. Now, this really does seem like a Monsoon Underground because
I was
then
just about to say that. Yep, that makes the most sense based on what he's doing here.
all this stuff will come back later. We might see Zerad Champion Power on Gore Master here. And we see it on the Stink Troll. I guess that's so the Splashy can trade.
That's what it looks like, yeah. Looks like he's wanting to trade on the Splashy.
Which is acceptable, I suppose. If he trades with the Splashy, as opposed to just blowing the Splashy up, though, he does lose... he does lose potential card draw, but he still has 5 cards in hand, so maybe that's not the issue for him here. It's a fairly okay draw. I think that one's going to be just fine.
Now, one thing
So we'll
to note, I think Kuzimo's got some fish hands in the sideboard in the reserves here. I'm not sure if he brought them in, but that could be something that we could see here in a second as well.
Yes, Fish Hands is one of the few cards that can revert.
Yeah, it's actually the only targeted action in set 2 that can revert, as far as I remember. A lot of options here for Kindmime, to be honest. Gotta question whether or not he can do... Sorry, if he can go Jags into Gore Master here, if he just wants to put out the other Gore Master and have another potential win con. Because, of course, if he puts out Jags this turn, it's going to be 2 turns before he can attack with the second Gore Master, but it will have double damage. If he puts out the Gore Master here, he can attack with it next turn, but it does not have double damage, which is significant.
But also Kindmime has to be very wary of playing Dishonorable Death coming out.
Yeah, well, Dishonorable Death is a reason he wants to get cards out of his hand. Like, he needs to get those out of his hand now.
Yeah, but there's a possibility that
Oh, yeah.
next turn that the Gore Master is going to get Dishonorable Death, and he may lose either, well, depending on what he plays, out in his second main, the Gore Master or Jags.
I don't think I think losing either one is brutal for him here. The Gore Master gives him potential, but he doesn't have a way to give it reach. And if he's assuming that that's a Monsoon Underground, I mean, he's got to do this soon. He's got to blow up soon, because Monsoon is 2 turns away from popping up and being like, well, everything's back. In a good note, for those of you that maybe play a different game, Crush in Hex actually still goes through to the champion's face, even if a blocker is removed from the board. So if Kuzimo was to block with Splashy here and sacrifice in response, it actually does nothing. If he blocks with Splashy and while he's blocking with Splashy, he might just trying to stop 1 damage from going through here. I'm guessing maybe Kuzimo doesn't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
He
Yeah,
sacrifices.
he sacrifices it to draw a card. Like I said, that actually does nothing here. The 4 damage still goes through.
Right.
In Magic the Gathering, that would have prevented all damage from going through. It does not work that way here in Hex.
So Kindmime chooses to play out the Gore Master. So 2 Gore Masters out on the field now. I was actually kind of surprised that Gore Master wasn't a unique card. But then again, it's not bad. And Kuzimo did actually sideboard in Fish Hands, the buffed up Gore Master, making it a 5-0. Or sorry, 0-5. Other way around.
Interesting that he chose to do it after he took the damage there, though.
I'm being told that wouldn't have prevented damage in Magic. For some reason, I thought it was. I don't know. Maybe it used to be that way. I haven't played in forever. But still, doesn't prevent any damage from going through here.
Yeah, I just find the timing on the Fish Hands there a little curious. Either wait until the next turn when Kindmime goes for the big one, or do it before you take the damage. Either one of those seems like they probably would have been better there. Maybe Kuzimo didn't understand the crush on that as well too. It's possible. So we do see 5 resources here. It is possible we could see a Dishonorable Death. Of course, our Tunnel Troop is on 3 counters now.
Yep. So Dishonorable Death is played.
Well, Jags being sent off is probably not the end of the world here. I mean, Monsoon is popping up soon, but I think this is lethal, isn't it? 3, 6, 12. Yeah, it's lethal. So that Dishonorable Death is a little too late. Kindmime has victory on board, assuming he plays this out correctly.
Oh, wow.
And definitely has victory on board now.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yes, now.
Well, I mean, I don't get what you. There was never a time where that wasn't
sorry.
enough.
Yeah, it was all enough. I was thinking
Yeah,
about something else.
I might be wrong about Crush versus Trample, but I'm pretty sure I can double 3 twice.
Yeah. Yeah, Kuzimo may have pulled the trigger a little early on the
Fish Hands. Yeah, the Fish Hands would have been a total blowout there.
Or alternatively, again, doing it.
Well, actually, no. The Fish Hands was only a blowout if he used Fish Hands before the Crackling Vortex.
You mean after the Vortex?
Well, no, because then he would have responded with Boulder Toss.
Oh, fair enough.
Fish Hands only saved the day there if it was played.
So, no, because
he wouldn't
Kindmime
have had the second ruby.
didn't have the second ruby yet, but also Kuzimo already used Dishonorable Death for 5 resources and was out.
Yeah, well, we were talking about a world where he still had resources.
Oh, well.
Right. We're different scenario. Alternatively, too, again, if Kuzimo had done it before the damage on the turn prior, he'd have 4 more health and would also still be alive at the end of that one.
He didn't have double ruby. Oh, well, that would have stopped him from throwing a boulder.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't have the double ruby, although he could have, if he wanted to. And yes, for the people who are asking, it is still 25 minutes before the official start time of the round. These two players just wanted to start a little bit early, and we thought we'd go ahead and show it for everybody that wanted to watch it. Yeah, he just didn't play the second Ruby Wolzark, that's all. The way that the turn sequence out for him, he just didn't put it out there at that point.
Yeah, at that point, it was more important to put down the
Yeah,
Kraken.
so Kindmime's like opening hand was 3 wild resources and 2 immortal tiers. So to keep pace, he was only able to play one Ruby out at that point in time.
Luca Duty, we don't know about any no-shows at this point. It's still a little bit early. People still have some time to get up here and play their matches.
And Wolzark, there are never any no-shows for top 8 except for the Blood Cup where there were 2.
For people that couldn't play. Looks like we are getting ready for game 3 here. That's correct, Wolzard. For the people that didn't show up to the Blood Cup, they were people who said that they were not going to be able to make it just for various personal reasons. So, yeah, it wasn't like anybody didn't show up because they just forgot to or overslept or whatnot. We just had some people who just couldn't make it for previous obligations.
So, who's excited for the Ruby Cup?
That's a long ways off. That's like 31 days away.
So, who's excited for the HexTech Open?
That's a long way away, man. That's like 6 days away.
Say, I'm going to be playing in the HexTech Open, and I'm pretty sure Penta is as well.
If Penta's playing, then that means I better not, because I'm going to get paired with him in like the first round and scrub out.
You'd probably scrub out first round anyway, let's be fair. I called you out.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Looks like this game 3 is taking a hot minute to fire up. The one real disadvantage to the Proving Grounds is it just takes a little longer to do sideboarding.
Yeah.
Reservesing.
So, would you take anything from the Blood Cup, learn from the Blood Cup into the HexTech Open?
Oh, I think you certainly have to. I mean, it's the same format. You're going to be seeing very similar decks. The meta will be defined by the Blood Cup, I believe.
Yeah, the Blood Cup will probably matter a lot more than what we're seeing in the Diamond Cup, although it is possible we may see a few new twists to some of the existing decks from what we're seeing on the Diamond Cup here today.
Well, in the Blood Cup, there were a few decks that played this Gore Master, Charge Power, exploiting type game, and in the Diamond Cup, a lot of them are doing that as well. I wonder if there will see an increase of those type of decks and maybe some refinement of that type of idea.
It certainly would make sense. I think Gore Master opened up a lot of people's eyes in this tournament with the amount of damage that you can push through in a single turn and make it sort of a split deck between aggro and combo. Sometimes you have the games where you just play multiple troops and you just run them over. In some games you have the I'm going to one-shot you with these 2 or 3 cards.
Yeah, I think probably the most explosive part of Gore Master is the power that hides in a crackling vortex, just like that double charge for the turn. And with no way to actively make sure you have one, it's a little inconsistent, but it's still pretty. I mean, it's still pretty powerful with just like a shard and a crackling sprout.
All right, on to game 3.
Yeah, this looks like a nice nice solid hand for Kindmime here.
Yeah, it's the best keep I think he could have made. There's no reason to throw this back. He does need to draw into some gas. Kuzimo going first this time. Like we saw last time, I really believe that going second is going to hurt Kindmime here in this top 8 match. It's going to be very difficult for him to explode out without more turns available to him, so to speak. And with Kuzimo
Right.
getting one turn closer to his Azure Fate, Killipede, one turn quicker on his troops getting tunneled, and one turn closer to Dishonorable Death, that's really the issue here.
Yeah, especially the dishonorable death being sooner and the champion power being sooner. I think that makes a big difference being on the play. So we see the second shard.
Choice here between Reactor Bot and popping Immortal Tears is the issue. And it looks like Immortal Tears comes down. Kuzimo does have that tunneled troop here. Always going to be a threat, those tunneled troops. So that Reactor Bot is a 1/1 for 2. Every time Kindmime gains a charge, the Reactor Bot will gain +2/+2 for the turn. So there are ways to make that just blow out of hand.
Yeah, Reactor Bot is probably the best target for the champion power, the Zared power here in this matchup.
Oh wow, 2 tunneling
Second tunneled
troops.
troops. That means one of those is definitely a Reese, and one of those is definitely a Monsoon. That's pretty interesting, all in all.
Well, Kuzimo does have Wakizashi Ambusher. It's possible one of those is the
Oh,
ones.
it does have the Wakizashi. I for some reason I totally spaced on that. Um, well, here we go. Here comes Kindmime's turn. He's got to decide what to do here. If it's worth going all in on the Reactor Bot to get as much damage through as possible right now, or if it's worth waiting. Given that he just picked up a Boulder Toss, in my opinion, it's best to save the explosive power for a turn or two here. He's also got to make a pretty difficult decision here. Does he pop the Immortal Tears or does he play out Jags? If he pops the Immortal Tears this turn, he can get the Wild to put down Wrathwood. Otherwise, he's stuck praying for a Wild next turn. He chooses to play Jags. A slower but more effectual play, I suppose, with what he has in hand. Dishonorable Death is less of a threat right now. Kuzimo hasn't played a shard immediately here, so he might be holding onto his Storm Cloud, and he's thinking about whether or not to put it down and then shard, or in a very potentially disastrous way, might not be holding onto a third shard at this point in the game.
Yep, looks like he seems to be just light on shards here. That's probably very bad news for.
And he's passing
here.
off
Yep.
the entire turn. Let's see.
So that's a big deal. That's another turn without Dishonorable Death.
It's not just a big turn. Looking at, I believe with that knowledge, unless that first tunneled troop is the Wakizashi, uh, well, Kindmime's not going to play it out the way I would. I think Kindmime could provide lethal in 2 turns here if he were to play it out that way, but he's perhaps afraid of the fish hands. He plays the Crackling Vortex to go to 4 resources. He is going to invest a lot into his attacking troops this turn. He's going to swing through with them.
Whoa. Wait.
Yep.
I mean, this is part of what I was thinking was the plan. I mean, he's got to get as much through as possible. He's like, this is like a shark swimming around in the water. You see your opponent is stuck on 2, you immediately take as much advantage of that as possible. The only action Kuzimo could possibly have here is fish hands, which is the reason that Kindmime spread his Lionel Flynn and his Reactor Bot's power together. In fact, this is lethal. Yeah, he had lethal
It
on
is.
board.
Yeah, he had lethal on board.
If he doesn't have it.
Without a verdict in hand, with no downvote, this is a turn 4 kill from Kindmime. There's the downvote, though. He says, no thank you. So the boulder toss will go back into the grave and sit there sadly, wishing it was more less counterable, I suppose. But with a verdict out of hand, still not a great spot for Kuzimo. He has to find a way to deal with 2 troops. That was not a Wakizashi ambusher tunneled first. I believe Wakizashi is a tunneling 3 troop and would have popped up there. And had Wakizashi ambusher popped up here, Jags the Blade Master would be removed, meaning either Monsoon or Reese is down there, buying another turn for Kindmime. No resource snapped down by Kuzimo. That is probably the end of this spree. Killblade is not enough. Killblade is, in fact, a good sign that is it.
Yep.
With Killblade down, the idea is that Kindmime would lose the Jags, but he has 3 different ways of putting Crush onto a troop here, and Crush is all he needs to win. His troops don't need to stay on the board here. So, a pretty tight game 1, and then an explosive game 2 and 3 from Kindmime actually push him through to the semifinals. Assuming there's not a 1 resource action that I'm totally spacing out here, but pretty sure that's not the case.
Yeah, there's nothing in Kuzimo's deck that'll save this one here.
Fish hands is 2, right? Yeah, it is 2.
Yeah, it's 2. Yep.
Even if set 1 was enabled here, there's nothing. This was just a situation of you keep a 2-shard hand. Sometimes you have to because it looks really good, and you draw 3 turns. Specifically, Kuzimo's on the play, and I think that Kuzimo's deck is actually stronger on the draw. He's playing against a deck that he can't afford to let go first here, so it's just, right. What do you do? What do you do at that point?
I wonder, in hindsight, I don't know this, but I wonder if that was an ambusher on the second tunnel.
Yeah, it is questionable. Did he not tunnel the ambusher first? Did he not? It's difficult to say. I suppose we'll never know unless he comes in and says something. But if I had to guess, one of those was Reese, and one of those was Monsoon, and we had the potential. Like, had those come up, there would have been a large number of troops eventually clogging up the board.